All right, starting to get a couple of viewers piling in. For anyone who's been here like really early, like right at the dot on 4 o'clock, you should know that it's usually like 4:15, 4:20 that people start showing up. So don't mind me. Until then, I'm just going to be messing around here. Go ahead and think of whatever questions or comments you guys would like to do. What I usually do at the beginning of the show, because like right before I start recording these, I take some pictures with a camera for the cover art of these videos, the live show videos. So I'm like editing and messing around with those right now. So go ahead and formulate your questions. Hold off for just a couple of minutes. I'm just going to be here in the background. Whoa, starting getting some people here all of a sudden. So just wait till about probably, if you guys can wait till quarter after 4, you can go ahead and type in your questions, what have you. Nice to see all of you guys come here. Let me respond real quick. So just don't mind me. It'll be a couple of minutes. I want to say 10 after we could probably get started. So I'm just going to be messing around until that point. So this is kind of like a preview into what it looks like when I'm working on something. This is exactly what I do.
Hey, just for those of you joining us right now, about 4:10 or so, just wait for people showing up. If you show up early, like is usually just like a few people. When I say 4 o'clock, I guess people take that to mean like 10 after, quarter after, 20 after. So if you're just coming in, you haven't heard me say this, I'm gonna hold off until about 4:10. With the lag, you might be getting this message at 4:10. I'm sorry for that. I still haven't found a workaround with the lag. If you've seen the other episodes and been there in real time, there's a little bit of a delay that seems to get worse as the episode progresses. But we'll try our best to work around that. I'm just working on something real quick here in the background, and we will start the show here momentarily. I'm glad to see that we have a halfway decent turnout so far in the first couple of minutes. So formulate your questions. I'll be in the message comments there in the YouTubes just in a second, and we'll go ahead and start our discussion here in just another minute. Just a second. All right, it is now 4:10 as of me saying this. I'm turning to the comments and asking if anyone would like to go ahead and start with a question or comment. I guess since I am the host of this live show, I'll start with just some random bits and pieces about what I've been doing in the last couple weeks, waiting for questions and comments to start coming in to get the discussion started. Um, those of you who are subscribed to my channel, I want to apologize to everyone. I haven't done a video uh, in the last 2 Tuesdays. I've been really super busy. I went to see Weird Al in concert last week, which was really awesome. I think I mentioned that in a previous episode. Really love Weird Al. Um, Definitely one of my favorite musicianal dudes, you could say. It was just a really great concert. I went with my girlfriend, and while I was at the concert in Pennsylvania, visited my grandparents in the area, close to where I used to live, and got to commune with nature, I guess, kind of go out for a hike and be out in nature away from the city where I live now. It's kind of annoying sometimes, but so I've been doing stuff like that. I've been finally cleaning out my apartment. The background here, it looks pretty decent. This room's usually the cleanest. It's kind of behind that door where the mess begins, and I'm trying to clean that out diligently. I know a lot of people do, I guess, what you could call spring cleaning. I guess I'm waiting to make it summer cleaning in August. Uh, Terribly hot, but it has to be done at some point. So that's what I've been doing lately. I got some questions coming in, so guys, go ahead if you have any questions or comments in response to what I'm saying, or anything that you've been waiting to ask me in the live show. Go ahead. It's your guys' show. We go wherever you want to go. So the first first questions I have here is how's the weather? It's not too bad today. Living in the DC area, you know, you're next to the Potomac River. It's very hot all the time. It's very humid. It's very close, as maybe the older generations might call it. You know, kind of air is kind of sticky, and I'm not a really big fan of that. I have to. I can get along well enough throughout the day, but then when I sleep, I have to have it like 65 degrees in my room with the AC cranked all the way up so that I can kind of hibernate, if you will. So the weather's not super great. Um, Next question we have here is how was it in the Amish paradise, which I would assume refers to Pennsylvania. There are a lot of Amish people in Pennsylvania. We passed a number of Amish people driving back and forth there on the highways. They have Amish communities scattered about. Of course, that's also a reference to Weird Al, who has the great song Amish Paradise, which he did play at the concert. Is really great. Um, Pennsylvania is awesome. I moved down further south to the Washington, D.C. area for my girlfriend. We had a long distance relationship for a couple of years, and it was eventually either she was going to move where I was in PA or I was going to move down there. And for those of you outside of the United States, there's a difference of about, 300 miles or so in between where we lived. So how many is that in kilometers? Like 400 plus kilometers away. So we only got to see each other a few times every month, every other month we'd travel to see each other one way or another. So that's just a quick background on Pennsylvania. But Amish Paradise, yeah, it's definitely the Amish Paradise. It's really cool. Pennsylvania, where I lived, is very wooded, very kind of out of the way, out in the country. So I really like that a lot, and I like going back to visit. Um, moving on to the next questions. Can a new author realistically expect to make a living from it? Short answer is no. I don't make a living from it. I hope that doesn't surprise anyone. It definitely doesn't quite pay the bills. So I'm not surprised by that, and I'm not deterred by that. That's very few people right out of the gate will make it big. I think it's more luck than anything. You got to be in the right place at the right time. Those who go on to become very successful, typically in anything, have been at it for a really long time. To use one of my favorites, Frank Herbert, the author of the Dune series, wrote many novels before he finally got Dune, which became a runaway hit. So it's a lot of practice. It's many years. Most new authors can really make a living from it. A little bit insider take on the publishing industry as a whole. Most authors don't. They do it because they love it. They don't do it for the money. And I think that if you do it because you love it and you really do it because you love the art, you love the craft, you'll do everything that it takes to make yourself good enough, and you'll be in the game long enough to then actually do that full time. So don't expect too much going into it. Expect that it's going to be difficult. Expect that you're going to stumble a lot and you're not going to make a lot of money. You'll be responsible. It doesn't matter if you go with a big publisher. You're still going to be responsible for a lot of your out-of-pocket marketing expenses. So you might even lose money at the beginning. You really should just look at it as a hobby that you can make a little bit of money from, that you can express yourself with. And then I think if you stick with that, you will eventually, you can make it a full-time occupation. I know that takes a long time. Need a quick drink of water before answering the next ones. Got some good questions going. How many books do you think you threw out before you published one? A lot. I don't know that I have count of. It wasn't a whole. I shouldn't say a whole lot. Maybe 10 or so, and 10 or 12, I would say, novels that I attempted to complete. And I don't think out of those 10 or 12, I'd have to go back on my old computers and the hard drives and flash drives that I saved all these drafts in from before. I don't think out of those 10 or 12 I ever really finished one in its entirety, or certainly not finished to the point. Maybe the story was done, but I hadn't self-edited it enough to want to pass it on to anyone. So those are collecting dust. Out of those novels, those drafts that I did before, I can only think of one off the top of my head that I would actually still want to go back and work on now. And most of what I've written and most of what those were, I guess, were just short stories that I just kept going on with, and they fizzled out. So I guess they're kind of, my intent was to make those into novels eventually, but most of what I had written before the first book that I had published were short stories. Ever since I was in middle school and high school, I would just write tons of short stories, every week. I would come out with one or two, and they're usually for my own amusement. I did have some friends and some teachers that actually liked reading my short stories, and any chance that I got in school as a kid to use that for essays and stuff, like all the other kids are like, damn it, we have to write an essay, and I just could not wait to use what I had practiced with and to get a good grade at school. I wasn't the best student because I didn't necessarily care about school, but when it was something that I really cared about, like writing, I really put my entire heart into it. So as to how many books I threw out before I published one, I guess, that got really close, and then the others were kind of half attempts, and I didn't go through the entire thing. So really not that many, but many attempts. I think we've all been there trying to make a book out of something that we're working on. It just kind of fizzles out. You lose the point of what you were trying to do. So I've done that a lot. Moving on to other questions here. I like these questions. You'll have to forgive me for being human, needing to drink fluids. How many hours a week do you spend on promoting your books, YouTube videos, Twitter, other, etc.? A lot less than I guess I did when the first one first came out. So maybe in the beginning, it's hard to say because it's really spotty. It's not necessarily something that you sit down and like, oh, well, gonna roll up my sleeves and put in 8 hours of marketing today. It doesn't really work like that. Unless you're in some kind of endeavor that's like you're selling dishwashing detergent, and you're making commercials and you're spending millions and millions of dollars, and there's sort of like a system in place: wash, rinse, repeat. Every $1 million you spend on advertising gets $1.1 million back, and then you just keep doing it. Unless you're in that sort of situation, marketing isn't really so automatic. It's sort of chance things. At the beginning, doing things like interviews and giveaways and signings and just chance things like that. So I'd say maybe 20 or 30 hours a week for the first few months. And now promoting the first one, a lot of it's done by other people. There's still giveaways and offers, discount offers and things like that get done. And that's, what I had to do with that is not a whole lot. Most of the marketing that I'm doing right now is mostly just for myself as a new author, is just to get my name out there, making these YouTube videos. If it's a 15-minute video that I do one week, it may take me an hour and a half overall, 15 minutes to shoot it, and the rest of the time cleaning it up and uploading it. I do all of that stuff myself. There's no one else doing these videos. It's all 100% me. So as far as promotion goes right now, maybe 10, 15 hours a week at most. Now, as the second one starts to come out, there will be more, it'll start to go off. From your point of view, this direction, the time, hours spent will start to skyrocket. And then they'll reach, sorry, I got to do it this way because you guys are seeing a different direction than me. It will go and up and up and up, and then it'll reach a plateau, and then it drops off. One day, maybe when I would love to be well known for being an author and have many books out there that sell at an even pace, and the marketing that I can do will be much more level and predictable, like I was saying with the detergent model. You just wash, rinse, repeat your efforts over and over again. Sorry if that was a really long-winded sort of explanation. And just real quick, I have my window open back here, so if it's really loud, there's a train going by right now. You may hear some neighbors outside. If it becomes really loud, just tell me if it's loud, and I'll close the window. But I can't run the AC in here because it's really loud. I think I mentioned that before. So at least when I have the window open. If it does get too distracting, I will brave the heat and close the window. You just need to let me know. Moving on to the next question. How do I stop procrastinating? That's something that is pretty difficult if you get caught in a rut. I get caught in procrastination ruts. I've procrastinated a little bit since the last the last book, and then getting the second draft, or I'm sorry, the first draft of the second book done, and then it's just a sort of, okay, we have to hold on and wait to see when we're going to move on with the next parts of the process. I think I mentioned this before, not enough money coming in for the first one to necessarily justify doing the second one right now, worst case scenario ever. So, when you get caught in a of not getting something done, you just go with the flow. You just kind of go with what you're used to. And it's not necessarily that you're lazy, it's just that you've trained yourself to do that. To use an example, like exercise, exercise isn't always fun. I do it. I got in the habit a long time ago of doing it, so I do it automatically, and I don't necessarily even think, like, it's not a question that I have about whether I'm going to exercise or not. It's like I have to. It's just like, it's as automatic as like brushing your teeth or taking a shower every day. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is to stop procrastinating, you have to cultivate really good habits. So if you're, I'm guessing the question has to do with writing specifically. So if you're in a situation where you want to write something, you want to get something done, and you're now in the habit of not doing anything at all or just very little, and you want to get to the point where you're doing that a lot, doing that regularly, you just have to take kind of baby steps. So you have to force yourself to sit down in front of your computer or with your pen and paper and commit yourself to doing a certain amount, either a certain number of minutes or hours, say an hour a day. Even if you don't actually get anything done, you have to sit down and actually do it. So just sit down in front of your computer with your pen and paper for 1 hour, time yourself, and just write whatever comes to mind, whatever you think. Even if you make mistakes and have to go over, just sit down and count 1 hour. And when that hour is done, you can stop and you can go do whatever else it is you wanted to do. And then the next day you do the same thing, and on and on and on. Even, at the very beginning, in the first hour, you might only get like one paragraph done, and maybe after a week you might get 3 or 4 paragraphs done. And then eventually, after a couple of months, you might be getting pages done with that 1 hour. You might have bumped it up to 2 hours. You have to start small. Again, to use the exercise example, if you try to do too much at once, if you go to say, I'm going to go to the gym for 2 hours every day and just work my heart out, you're going to get burned out, and it's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth, and then you're not going to want to do it at all. So my recommendation for stopping procrastinating doing anything is just take really small baby steps. Make it a regular thing. You have a certain block of time that you can spare during the day, and just do as much as you can in that allotted time every single day, and make that a habit. And eventually it'll just become automatic, and you'll become uncomfortable. Not when you do it. It won't be a chore to get yourself up to do it. It'll be more uncomfortable to not do it. So you'll just have that automatic sort of training ingrained in you. So that would be my advice. Okay, next question is it better to spend more time on the first draft and make it as good as you can rather than rushing through it? A rushed first draft just means you basically have to rewrite the entire thing anyway. Yes, I suppose in one sense you should try to make your first draft as good as possible. I don't mean to sound fatalistic or defeatist in any way, but no matter how long you work on your first draft, I can guarantee you that a lot of it is going to change. Now, knowing that at the very outset, knowing that, okay, whatever the next 100,000 pages, I'm sorry, not 100,000 pages, the next 100,000 words that I write are going to not work. They're going to have to be changed to some degree. Knowing that at the outset should not deter you from doing it in the first place. The way I like to look at it is creating, I think I've used this analogy before, building a house. The first draft is just digging out the hole for the foundation. If once you get that done, no matter how well you dig that hole, no matter how perfect the angles are, No matter how symmetrical everything is, no matter how flat you've dug the surface, whatever little flourishes you put on it, it's still just a hole in the ground. You still have to go through the other steps. So my take on that would be to work as diligently and accurately as possible on the first draft, but don't be not necessarily to be in a hurry about it, but don't beat yourself to death trying to make it perfect the first time, because I can guarantee you it does not matter how long you spend in the first draft, you will have to change a lot of it. I think it's more important to just get it done adequately, to go naturally from beginning to end. When I write a first draft, I sit down, with my little note cards that you guys have seen before, with my outline, and I just write what I think should happen. And sometimes a lot of things change. I'll have my note card and say, this has to happen in this chapter. And while I'm writing it, I start to get a feel, try to get inside the characters' heads and think about their motivations as I'm writing from their point of view. And things will change right in the middle of the course. So, let's say my outline went this way for my first draft, and the draft itself, like the events start to go off in this direction. I don't go back and really change that. I'll leave the previous parts the way they were and then continue writing the new chapters going off in this other direction. And so if you read my complete first draft, it's like, oh man, there's all these inconsistencies. Like, how did this character get to this location when he was going to this other place? Like, why is there this big change that doesn't make any sense? If you were to read that, and when I do read it going back, it makes absolutely no sense in some places. And then I'll put little notes inside the draft telling myself that needs to be changed later. So it's more important for me anyway to just get it done adequately and then go back and change it. Because you're going to, your first draft, like I said, is just digging the hole. You got to fill in all the other parts. You're going to have to go back and reread it yourself and change those inconsistencies. You're going to have to edit for a number of things yourself, and then you're going to pass it on. And then your editors, no matter how good, you could do 4 or 5 drafts of a 100,000-word book and hand it off to your first editor, your structural editor, or whoever's going to do it, and they're going to come back to you and say, well, what about this list of things that I noticed that don't make sense, that you totally skipped over? So don't beat your death onto the first one. I think it's more important just to get it done adequately. It's also, we are human beings. We have confidence, we have pride, we have emotions, and I think it's a really big confidence booster to just have a first draft done, even though it's imperfect, of course, just to get it done and close the computer file, save it, of course, close the computer file, walk away from the computer and say, I got something done. And then I think with that boost in confidence, going back in and doing the revisions, knowing what you need to get done is going to be a lot easier that way. Next question. Do you think it would be a good idea to write a book's draft in a few different conlangs? I have been developing 2 conlangs, and I was thinking of possibly writing a draft in them and then translating them. Yeah, I got a comment on one of my YouTube videos the other day about making your own fantasy language, and I had never heard the term conlang before, and it stands for constructed language, so like making up your own language from scratch. I would imagine for a fantasy setting of some sort, movie, video game, book, role-playing game, that sort of thing. You'll have to forgive me, and I would definitely like a response to this. I don't know what purpose that would serve. You'd have to tell me exactly what benefit writing your draft in a different language that you invented would really provide for you. I suppose if you're trying to become more proficient in a language that you yourself have devised, that would be good practice for that. But as far as writing a draft of a book that's going to be published in English, being written in a language that you invented and presumably only you know and speak to that degree, I don't see what purpose that would serve. So you'd have to tell me exactly what benefits other than getting practice that would have for you. Just got some more questions here. Go ahead and bring your questions and comments in, guys. I'm just going to have another sip of this very delicious and nourishing water, and you guys go ahead and ask your questions, make your comments, and I'll get to you just in a second. I'm really not used to speaking this much unless we're playing Dungeons and Dragons or something like that, and I'm usually the dungeon master. But then I'm usually not drinking water; I'm drinking beer. I like to drink beer when I play D&D. It kind of gets me into the Dungeons and Dragons spirit, I guess you could say. So other than that, I'm not really used to speaking a whole lot. So I'm certainly not this fast. I feel like I'm speaking really fast, so it really dries my mouth out. It's really hot in here. Uh, next question. Do you ever get creative ideas when you're running? Yes, all the time. I run a lot. Um, I'm running more now. I'm running longer distance. I'm out there for a long time. And I don't listen to music. I don't understand why people wouldn't listen to music. I see a lot of people that run around and they have their headphones and their iPhones plugged in. And for one, that's like a really big distraction, especially when you're a pedestrian. You should watch out for cars and motorcycles and people on bikes and other people running and walking and stuff. So I think I'd be too distracted. But more importantly to me, I don't listen to music or anything while I run so that I can think. And I think a lot about stuff that I was doing before I went running. I know this sounds kind of weird, but like before I go for a run in the morning, I try to do something right before I go that I want to think about for a prolonged period of time. So like writing something or reading something or playing a game, like a video game that I'm stuck on or something, or I'm going to prepare for the next level or phase of. So like it's like the last thing that I'm doing before I go out for a run. I think about a lot, like while I'm running. So I do get a lot of creative ideas while I'm running, and I also like to take into consideration like different things in my environment. Like if I run past a really cool old building, I'll think about like what that building's for, if I know anything about who built it, what it was built for, and then it just kind of branches off from there. I like to think about that stuff while I'm running. So I think I've talked about this before. I get a lot of ideas from exercise, like going for a walk. I like to go for a walk and just think. Um, it's just like some people will tell you they get their best ideas in the shower or on the toilet. It seems to be at times that you least expect it. So, or when you're relaxed and you're not really stressed. So exercise for me is not super stressful. It's very enjoyable. So I definitely get a lot of pretty cool ideas while I'm doing that. Next question is, how do you motivate? Sorry, how do you? I can't speak today. How do you motivate yourself to complete the first draft instead of stopping in the middle? Now this is something that I've only done a few times now because, like I said before, a lot of drafts that I started, novels that I wanted to write, I just they kind of fizzled away and I didn't finish them. So what I've learned about the few that I have finished now about staying motivated is you have to want the end result bad enough, I guess. Um, so even if you're writing something, you're writing a novel or writing a story or something for your own satisfaction, your own use, you have to want to see the end of that bad enough to keep doing it. So for me, it's like I want to see the conclusion of the Growlithe series. I definitely want to see all the books published and sold and have people enjoy them as long as you guys like that. I'm doing that. Um, but I think moreover, and I hope this doesn't sound too terrible, but moreover, I think it's important for an artist or writer to want that for themselves. Like I don't want to complete the Growlithe series. I don't want to complete each of the books individually and then the whole thing uh, just so that other people can read it. I want to get to the end of it. I want to see what will happen because for me, it is an evolving thing. And there's a great satisfaction with getting to the end. I think what am I trying to say here? It's really hard to find motivation if you don't want it yourself. If you're just doing it because you think it's something cool to do, or it's a way to make money, or it's a way to find fame, or is a way to pass the time, that's one thing, and I don't think you'll be motivated enough. But if you have like a really deep burning desire to see the end result of what you're working on, you become obsessed with it. You think about it day and night. I think once you find that spark inside of you, that you will find the motivation to get to the end. So you just have to want to see the end bad enough. It's kind of like if you ever watched like a really cool movie or something at a friend's house and maybe had to leave early, like right in the middle of it, and you can't stop thinking about like what's going to happen at the end. Like you just have to know. So you find a way to watch the rest of the movie. You go out and buy it or watch it online or something. It's kind of like that. So for me nowadays, since I've kind of forced myself into building the habits to get things done, to finish writing projects, if I were to just stop in the middle of a draft, there's no way I could sleep. Like if I'm not working on it or thinking up the next part of it, there's no way I could rest with that. So it's just that desire to want to see the end for yourself and to have it done and to have a sense of accomplishment and have a sense of confidence that you can actualize things that you really think about. I think that's really the key to any kind of artistic progress, as far as I'm concerned. Let's see. Okay, looking for other questions here. Go ahead, guys, and send me your questions. What was I going to say? I don't know. Last time we went until 6 o'clock, so from 4 to 6, about 2 hours. I might have to cut it a little short today. I do have some dinner plans later tonight. We'll see exactly how close I can cut it. If we stop at 6, that'll leave me just a little bit of time to get ready to go out to dinner with some people. So I might cut it short at about 5:30, but we'll see exactly how many questions. I want to make sure everyone's questions are answered. That's more important. But if there aren't as many questions this episode, then we'll wrap it up a little faster than usual. So moving on to the next question: is it discouraging that your first book hasn't sold well? How does that affect the author financially if you can't start getting paid for the second book yet? It's not necessarily that discouraging. I guess, I mean, it's disappointing. And when I say not sold well, I mean, it certainly hasn't sold millions of copies. And I don't know that necessarily the Grow Out series, all 6 books, when they're finished, will even have sold 1 million altogether. I would be very, very lucky for that to happen. It is disappointing, but at the same time, and I guess I was more disappointed before, earlier on, but now looking back at it, it's like I've never done this before. It's the first one. It's the first time I've ever done something like that. So all in all, it's pretty good, I would say. I'm actually pretty satisfied with the way things are. Sure, I mean, I guess going into it, you think like I'm going to be the next Stephanie Meyer, or Suzanne Collins, or Frank Herbert, I guess, or George R.R. Martin, fill in the blank, runaway success. But then I kind of look back at that and think, like, for one, it's really hard to do that, to be a runaway success, an overnight success. Very few people do that. And even the ones that do, a lot of them have been at it for a really long time. So I just kind of keep that in mind. And I've definitely done a lot of growing up, I guess, as far as how the publishing business works. You can't really let it get to your head and discourage you. A painter's going to paint whether anyone likes his paintings or not. I think a writer is going to write, and even if no one really wants to read his work, until that person finds an outlet that other people respond to. I think it's just a matter of time. Like I was saying earlier, you got to stay in the game long enough for people to finally recognize who you are. So I do try to keep that in mind. It is a bit discouraging that I'm not like, rolling in royalties right now, but that in the long run is what I guess I should expect, and it doesn't discourage me overall. So just kind of sucks. For me, it's not so much that I don't want to finish it. I get too many. It's that I get too many ideas, and then I become obsessed with the next idea, and I can't focus on the previous one. Yeah, that's something that I like to call popcorn brain. I think I heard that from someone else, but it's like popcorn. One blows up over here, another one over here, another one over here. You can't really keep track of it all. That you have these different ideas popping into your head all the time, and as soon as a new one comes, you lose sight of the older ones, and so on and so forth. The way that I get over that, I think I have one over here actually. The way that I get over that, and actually, you guys in the United States, if you go to Walmart right now, they have these one subject notebooks for like 17 cents. Every back to school season, August, I go to Walmart and I buy like 30 or 40 of these, for a couple of bucks, and it lasts me forever. But this is how I overcome that problem. Like, I come up with so many ideas that I can't use right now necessarily. They might be for other novels, they might be for other series, they might be for other purposes, just things that I think about or things that I read about that I want to remember. And I just write them down. And there's a kind of satisfaction with just knowing that that idea is there on hold for you to use at a later time. There's something about just having it there and saving it and knowing that it's good, it's still good, and it's an idea that you'll get to later. And then, I'll go through notebooks that I have and read up on things every now and then. And then, like, I'll find an idea that I forgot about or had been thinking about using for something that I'm working on now. And then, I get to use that. So that's the way that I overcome it. Uh, the problem of getting obsessed with the next idea and not focusing on the one that I was working on before. And I don't think that's a bad thing to have that. I think we all have that to some extent, and it's also not a bad thing to work on multiple things at once. Do one or two short stories at the same time. Write a novel and a short story, or two novels at the same time. Like, if you can do that, that's fine. But try not to do it to the point where you're neglecting the older ones. I think the more practice you can get in different avenues, the better that works out for you in the end. Moving on to the next questions. Do you ever let people read a partial draft to get early feedback? Very rarely. I'm very guarded about stuff that I have that's not ready yet. At the very most, I might send or print off like a chapter or a part of a chapter, like a full scene before a scene break that I'm kind of wanting feedback on or kind of proud of or want someone to take a look at. But an entire draft before I think it's ready to be shown to someone else, I don't show anyone else that stuff. I know it's kind of weird, but I'm really guarded about it. I mean, I guess there's a element of embarrassment about it. Like, I don't want anyone to see this before it's ready, but I just like to keep it all under wraps really until it's the right time. Let's see. Sorry, we're just checking something out real quick. All right. Moving on to the next question. Do you ever make detailed outlines, bubble diagrams, or use brainstorming, free writing to generate ideas or to help keep complex ideas clear? No. I do not do any of that stuff. I know people that do. I've seen videos and read articles and heard talks from people that do that stuff, and it works really great for them. It does not work well for me. The way that I like to write things going into it, the way I like to prepare, I just use my index cards. I think I have some over here showing you guys visual examples. Just, one of these index cards right here. And I write my chapter ideas. So if I have 40 chapters in a book, I have 40 index cards, right? Chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and then the main events that need to take place in a chapter. And the reason I like doing that is because if I need to rearrange things, I can, and just cross it out and say this is going to be a different chapter, or it's really flexible. And two, it forces me to constrain my outline to something this big. It's not exhaustive. It's just point by point, and it's very broad. And the reason I like doing that is because I hate contrived writing. Like, I've tried to do that before, and I've worked with outlines that are really, really detailed. outlines that are so detailed that it didn't give me any wiggle room when I was actually in the novel writing it, in the work writing it, any flexibility, because I had already planned, if I changed anything about chapter 1, it's going to change all the other chapters. It wasn't flexible because I'd already planned out everything to such a high degree. The way that I like to write is, with my outline very, in broad strokes. And then when I'm in it, I like to be able to change what I'm writing, because I really do believe and get pleasure from the fact that you can kind of sense the characters' motivations, you can sense their emotions, because when you're writing, and the way that I write is from the character's point of view, and each chapter or in between scene breaks will have different characters' point of view. When you're inside of their head and you're writing and describing and thinking about the actions and the words and the emotions, you really start to feel the same way that they do. You kind of have to describe it. I call it writing emotionally. You kind of get in that character's skin. And sometimes it surprises me. I would think, well, the character wouldn't do what I originally planned them to do. They'd do something else because it's more realistic. It feels right. It feels like it's part of the moment that character is living in. So if you have a really constrained or complex outline, you can't really, roll with the punches and be very fluid with that. So I like my method. It works for me. It's not for everybody, but I stay away from any kind of outlining other than the method that I use with note cards. Next question is, hey, did you know where your story is going to end when you started writing your series of novels, and do you know now if you didn't? Yes and no. Related to the last question, when it comes to the future Grauwelt books, their outlines exist in notebooks that are very broad, just like the index cards. So I'll take those outlines as the time comes for writing each one and put them on note cards and then work that way. So I have a good idea of the things that are going to happen, the things that I want to happen, but I know going into it, just like with the first one, that my outline is going to change substantially. So I can kind of see the direction I want to go in the distance, but the route that I actually take to get there will be different, and I know that there's a good chance that my final destination will be veered off to one side or another from what I originally planned. So yes, I do know what I want to happen, but no, I don't necessarily know exactly how it's going to be, because I do, again, believe in getting into the story's emotions and changing things the way that the flow of the story really dictates. I know that may sound kind of weird, but it's just the way that I do that stuff. Next question is, do you have a certain space or office where you write? If so, how does it look? Do you have a special writing furniture? Well, you're looking at it. If you take a look around here, this entire room is kind of my study, I guess. You can't see it, of course, with the camera, but there's a desk here that this computer is sitting on. I have my printer, my laser printer, right next to it. Next to that is a filing cabinet with files and notebooks and notes, and on top of that are all my pencils and pens and what do I want to say, index cards and all that sort of stuff. I might have to do a video where I show you guys the rest of this room. And then off to all the sides here, you've got bookshelves with books, and of course, I got my window back there. And you can see one of them here. There's a corkboard with notes that I have there about stuff that I'm writing. And then there's another one over here on this side where I can take a look at different things and just get a big picture of what I'm doing. And then, of course, there's another bookshelf back there. So this room here is where I write. It's quiet. It's away from the bedroom. My cat, I don't let my cat come in here because he likes to knock stuff over and claw things up. He broke a microphone and a camera of mine before, the camera that I have to get replaced soon. And so this is my sanctuary. This is where I write, and everything in this room is oriented and stocked for that purpose, just for reading and writing and quiet time, really. Productive time, I guess I could call it. And that's what I do. I don't have any special writing furniture, I guess. I've got some chairs in here. Over here you can see a medicine ball. Sometimes I sit on that. That's kind of why I guess my back hurts, because I'm sitting in a regular chair. You see me stretch a lot because my back feels weird. But usually I sit on that medicine ball instead of a chair. It keeps your spine aligned more naturally than sitting in a flat chair that I'm sitting on now. I have another reading chair over here, so I guess that's it as far as specialized furniture goes. And I do apologize for that train again in the background. I live right by some train tracks like all the time. Next question is it better to write what you want to say, even if it's controversial, or is it better for a new author to sell out and aim to be marketable until they have a foothold in the industry? And you'll have to forgive me for taking a drink before I answer that. Um, I don't know really where I come down on that. There are some, I guess, controversial things that I put into the first Growell book. And who knows, maybe that turn some people off. I mean, I don't know every person that's bought it and read it, and whether that made them talk badly about it or not at all. Um, I don't like the idea that someone should have to, if they really have something to say, should hold back and deceive people to the extent that, you know, I'm making this into something that it's not. It's not what I intended. What am I trying to say? If your art has a message, you know, if you're a movie maker or a writer or video game designer or whatever, and what you're working on has a message to it, you know, it has a purpose. Um, to not build it with that purpose, you know, with what you have to say into it, is doing not only yourself a disservice to not be able to express what you really think, but it's also doing the people who want to hear that message, who need to hear that message, a disservice by withholding it. So I don't really have a message with the Growell books. If you think that there's a message in it, I can assure you that that's totally of your own doing and not something that I intended. Which it's perfectly fine. You know, everyone takes different meaning from a piece of writing. Um, that being said, I'm not myself opposed to the idea of using art as a platform for a particular message. That being said, I also, at the same time, strangely find it annoying a lot of the time when people do, because I don't like, me personally, other people preaching their ideas to me. It's one thing to have a discussion, it's one thing to raise questions, but when it's something like a TV show or movie or book where it's one-sided and someone is just the creator is speaking and they're just gonna, you know, blast their message at you, I do find that kind of annoying. So I guess um, what I'm trying to say is, if you do have a message to work into what you're writing, what you're making, I would make it subtle, and I would do it. If that's the point of what you're trying to do, it kind of all falls apart if you don't include that message in what you're working on. However, it is really easy, really temptingly easy to go overboard and make it a mouthpiece for your ideas, which you're only going to be preaching to the choir at that point. Only people who already think the way that you think are going to like it. And I don't think it's really going to convince people. But if you do have a message and you make it very subtle and you show your message in the events of the story, I think that that will do a good job of not only spreading your message, but making other people, you know, turn around to your point of view. As far as sellouts go, I guess you mean just people who do it for the money, and I think those people are important too. I mean, they make the money because they provide the things that people want. So, and those things, I guess, don't tend to have a lot of messages, or their messages are just really generic, and that's, I mean, it's totally fine. It's not for me to, unless you have a specific example that you'd want me to comment on. I really don't think that's such a bad thing. Okay, so we're an hour into the show here. If anyone has any more questions or comments for me, I'd be glad to get to them. If we don't, I may already start wrapping it up again. I have some fancy dinner plans for later. It's gonna be pretty cool. I gotta get myself ready for that. We can go on until 6 if you guys would like. It's totally your show. Just ask once more if you have any questions or comments, anything you'd like me to go over in this live show episode. I will be glad to do so. Otherwise, I will start wrapping things up already. Just real quick, I want to say that the next live show I've already scheduled for September 10th. It's going to be Thursday, September 10th at the same time. That's 4 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. So that's going to be live show number 4. So go ahead and ask your questions or make your comments or whatever you'd like in this episode, and I'll get to those here just in a second. Just need some more water. Also, before I get to that, I just want to ask if you guys still like this sort of thing. Do you still like the live shows? Do you want me to do them? I plan on doing one a month now, in about the middle of the month. You guys have to give me your feedback, and you're not going to hurt my feelings if you tell me it sucks or what I should change. I mean, should these live show episodes just be the way that they are now, where you guys ask me questions and I make comments on them, ask you follow-up questions if need be, or should it be a different format? I really want these live shows. All the other videos I do, it's stuff that I want to do, that I want to make a video of, and I put it up. I'm the one talking, and I put it up, and then you guys rate it or make comments on it. These live shows, I want to be different. I want them to be what you guys want it to be. I want this time to be, your time. It's your show. So you guys have to tell me feedback. Do you like these live shows? Do you think it should have a different format? Is it fine the way that it is? And even if it is, I'm going to still ask that question because, what you guys want may change over time. So you guys have to tell me that. I'm always really eager to get your feedback on all that stuff. And I want to thank you for watching. So I'll go ahead and get your questions in. These last few that we get in are going to be the last ones that I do for today. I do apologize that we have to cut it short. But the next live show is going to be September the 10th. Okay, so the next question we have is, do you ever write with pen and paper, or do you usually compose new text on the computer? Pen and paper has a certain ambience that the Start computer screen doesn't have. Yes, I agree. There is a romanticism that comes with writing with pen and paper. When it comes to writing short stories or writing a novel or something like that, of course an email, I write on the computer. I open up a Word document. Even when I write an email, I usually write it in a Word document first because the spell checking and everything is better usually than an email application is. So I'll write that stuff, and I only write it. I've never, not since a long time ago when I used to write short stories in high school, have I written a novel or a short story by hand with pencil and paper. It was a really long time ago. I was really worried about getting carpal tunnel at one point because my hands really hurt because I wrote a lot. Even though I had a computer then too, and I just didn't like it. I like the romanticism of filling up notebooks. You could see the progress in 3 dimensions. It's different on a computer. It's all digitized. It exists in tiny electrons stored in a computer that you can't see. However, I do like to write by hand ideas that I have in my notebooks, of course. And I'm a really big fan of writing people letters. I still write my girlfriend letters all the time. I'll sneak them if she's going away on a trip. I'll write her a letter, put it in an envelope, and sneak it into her luggage or her purse before she leaves so she finds it later. And sometimes I'll write letters to friends or family members. And I don't like sending emails for special reasons. If I really have something to say, I want to write it by hand. I want there to be a physical thing. I want there to be more effort because it takes more effort to write. I want that significance to be there. So I'm a really big fan of writing by hand when it comes to writing someone a letter. But when it comes to writing like short stories, novels, and things like that, I like to use the computer. It's just so much easier. I would hate to have to write it all by hand and then have to transpose it and type it anyway. So I don't know. I like to write in the medium in which that thing is going to stay. If that makes any sense. Okay, so you guys seem to like the live shows. Uh, that's pretty sweet. So you guys will have to let me know, and in all my videos, just comment and let me know what you guys think about it. I'm totally open to doing what I have to change things. Let me take a look here at these last questions. Did you get some Marmite? Ah, damn it. I forgot. Damn it. I said I was going to get some too, didn't I? Hold on. Give me 1 second. This right here is going, I'm going to stick it onto my computer here so that right after this, I am going to buy it. And the next live show, it should be here by then. I don't know if I have to order it from Australia or something, but I'm going to eat it on the next live show, and we'll see. And I want to ask, Lemon Pen, you're the one that came up with this idea last time. Should it be Marmite or Vegemite? I know Marmite, I think, is the one from the UK. Vegemite's the one from Australia. I think that one's a little more famous. If you insist on Marmite, then Marmite it shall be. If you don't mind if it's Vegemite, I might do that one. I think they're both the same kind of yeast product, and I think they taste more or less the same from what I understand. But is it all right if it's Vegemite, or does it have to be a Marmite? You'll have to tell me in the comments here real quick. Okay. What do I think about fan fiction? I like fan fiction. I used to read fanfiction.net sometimes for Star Wars fan fiction, and I used to write some Star Wars fan fiction. Uh, I remember putting a lot of Star Wars fan fiction on my MySpace page. If you guys can remember MySpace from way back when I was in high school, and that was one of the things that I really enjoyed because my friends would comment on it. They really liked my Star Wars fan fiction, so I like it. I like the idea of fan fiction. It's like the same reason I like role playing games, set in the Star Wars universe or something like that. It gives you another way to live in the universe that you love so much. And as some like the creator of something, like if someone did some Growell fan fiction, I would not be, one of these people that gets like, I'm going to sue you for copyright infringement and all that. I would find a way to make sure that it's totally legal and okay, or I'd turn a blind eye to it for sure. At least as far as legal reprimands go, because like that's the greatest praise someone could pay you. Like when people write Twilight fiction, they love Twilight. They love it so much that the original source material is not enough to satiate their desire for the Twilight universe. So they have to go out and create their own. And that's a beautiful thing to me. It's like that people can speculate and live in that universe enough to want to go and make it themselves. So I think fan fiction is really cool. Fan fiction has a really bad reputation for being of poor quality, which, a lot of it, 80% of it isn't the greatest thing ever made. But no one's saying that it has to be. It's fun, I'm not the best, what am I going to say? I'm not, an Olympic athlete when it comes to running, but I still do it because I enjoy it. And I think that that is totally respectable and completely fine. And that it's better to do it at all than never. So I hate those, I hate those kind of snobs that's like, oh, fan fiction is bullcrap because it sucks. Well, you suck. That's what I think. um, okay, definitely got to be Marmite and make sure to eat it on toast, not just plain bread. So will do. That's September 10th. Show up and get my reaction to eating Marmite. If you don't know what that is, it's like a yeast product that's apparently really strong, really salty tasting, that foreigners hate. I'm going to eat it. It's going to be great. I can already tell I'm going to like it. This is also, hold on, got a couple here. I skipped over this one intentionally. You want to see my cat? I'll go get my cat real quick. He's probably asleep, but no, I'll put him back. I'll be right back. Okay, this is my cat. His name is Dorado. He's not quite a year old yet. He's going to be a year old in October. This is the cat that we found at our back door on the porch. Little guy couldn't see out of one of his eyes, and he was really malnourished, but we took him in and took care of him. He was sleeping, like I said. You can tell he's kind of groggy. But yeah, I love my cat, but he's a really big troublemaker. He's damaged like hundreds of dollars of our stuff. Like he's broken plates, lamps, a camera, a microphone, just lots of stuff. Oh, he's starting to get restless. But we love him anyway. You know, it's kind of like having a kid. You know, they're going to get in trouble and that sort of thing, but that's okay. All right, I think he wants to go back to sleep now. He's really tired. So this is my cat, Dorado. This is the one that I try to keep out of this room. I'll be right back. If you guys saw that, he didn't want to he never wants to let me, he never lets me put him down. He jumps out of my arms before I can set him down gently. So one time he got kind of hurt doing that. I don't know exactly why he does that. But, next question is, do you write in cursive or print? I always print. I hate cursive writing. I remember my teacher is telling me, I'm just laughing at the comments in response to my cat. Everyone likes my cat, I guess. But yeah, just like this example here, that's kind of hastily written, but I never write in cursive. I always print everything. And I was just thinking about this the other day. Did any of you guys write your A's like this, in Roman fonts? That A, most people write it like the Greek A, which looks like this one here. But sorry, I can't tell. Let me take a look if this is in front of the camera sufficiently. Yeah, it is. Okay, so can you guys see that? I don't think you can see that. Holy crap. Just give me 1 second. This is important. Damn it. All right, I'm just going to use this. All right, so most people write their A's. I need a new one. Damn it. I'm screwing this up. Sorry, guys. Most people write their A's, I've noticed, like this. And I think you can see that. So I write my A's like this. Kind of like in Roman fonts. You know, you kind of have it like that. I don't know if any of you other guys write your A's like that. So I always print. I know people say, oh, cursive's faster. It's like, I guess. So scribbling's even faster than that. So I don't scribble. I don't know. It's just my handwriting's not really good anyway, and my cursive writing's even worse. So it's pretty terrible, and I try not to do it. Okay, winding down to the last few questions here. If you guys have anything else, throw it in now. I'm gonna wrap things up here in a little bit. Okay, so are you excited about the upcoming Star Wars movie, or are you apprehensive that it will be a disaster to the series? This is going to sound terrible. I hate sounding like a cynic, but when I saw the trailer for the new Star Wars movie, I turned my computer off and I sat down and I thought, this movie is really going to suck. I hope I'm wrong. I was really disappointed with the prequel movies. I don't want to offend anyone that likes the prequel movies. Is perfectly fine, but it's not my cup of tea. I like the original episodes 4, 5, and 6. It had the emotion, it had the drama. You know, the action was just a means to the end. You know, for the whole symbolism, the whole movement of the story. And the prequels went the other way and made the special effects and the action the focus, and not the emotion, not the story, not the struggle of good and evil. And watching the trailer for the new episode 7, I kind of got the same feeling that I got watching the original movies, and it still has a really bad taste in my mouth. And I'm not entirely sure. I've seen every Star Wars movie, the prequel trilogy, and then when I was a kid, the special edition came out in 1997. I saw all of those opening day. I don't know that I'm going to see this next one in theaters at all. I think I'm that disgusted with the series up to this point, and some of the decisions that they made, like throwing out all of the expanded universe canon. They just Disney eliminated that totally. And it's like, my entire childhood is gone. Like all the trading cards and novels and source books and stuff that I have is like now just stricken from the record. I was kind of upset about that. So I want to say I'm going to judge them by their fruits. I will see the movie eventually. If not in theaters, I'll watch it when it comes out, and Netflix and DVD and stuff. But I don't know that it's going to be any good. From what I can tell right now, I don't think I'm going to like it. But I hope I'm wrong. We'll have to see. Only time will tell. So next questions we have here is, what is your favorite book or book series? My favorite book of all time? Oh man, I hate that question. I don't know. Judging by the number of times I've read it, maybe, God, I think I've showed you guys before. Let me find it real quick. I'm always getting up to show you my cool things in my room here. If I had to tell you what my favorite book was by the number of times that I've read something, it might be The Birth of Plenty here by William Bernstein. I have all of William Bernstein's books. He writes a lot about history, and especially the history of economics. And I think I've read this book 5 or 6 times. I think I write down all the books that I read in a notebook. So this one would appear a number of times. I have to go back and count it, but I want to say 5 or 6. And I've given this book as a gift to like 15 different people over the years. Like, if you're one of my close friends or family members, like every Christmas, that you're getting a book from me, usually for Christmas. And I've given this as a gift to a lot of people, and it's just a really great read. Any of you that are interested in history or economics or want to try something like that, buy this book right now and read it. The first time I read it, I got it in the mail from Amazon, and I got home at like 6 or 7 o'clock, had dinner, read this. I did not go to sleep until I was finished, like 2 or 3 in the morning. I read the entire thing. It was just super great. Bernstein's such a great teller of a story in a subject that would normally be very dry and boring. He just kind of tells a really great narrative about it. So in one sense, that might be my favorite book in terms of how much I've read it, how many times I've read it. My favorite series is probably Dune. I have this conveniently sitting here, the Dune novel, the first one in Spanish, which I'm now approaching the end of. I really love the Dune series. It's really, sorry, I had just kind of blacked out there for a minute. I just couldn't think. I really love the Dune series. The story itself is not necessarily the best. I actually have a video coming out soon about that, about the prophecy aspect of it, and for me, it kind of ruins it. But the Dune series, and I think the books get better as they go on. I know a lot of people don't like some of the later ones because they're really weird. But I like that. The universe is so well thought out. The world building is so incredible and so rich. You really do want to believe that it's a real place in time. And for me, that's really important, that a fictional setting, come to life that way. And to me, like, that's my favorite character in the Dune series is the setting itself. It's not any of the human personalities. It's the setting itself is my favorite character, and it really does tell a story in and of itself. And to what great pains Frank Herbert, the author, went to create that universe is just it's really inspiring for me, and I've taken a lot of Frank Herbert uh, in my into me for my own work, and I definitely think that's my favorite series. If you guys have never read it, uh, I would definitely recommend at least reading Dune. Dune's written as a standalone novel. There are 5 other books after it in the original series written by Frank Herbert. And then there are like a dozen and a half other ones that his son and Kevin J. Anderson wrote after his death. But Dune stands alone as a standalone novel, so you don't have to go into reading the other ones if you don't want to. But it's really awesome. Okay, so I think we're getting to the last couple questions here. This will be the last call for any questions that you may have for me in this episode. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up here within the next 5 or 10 minutes. And just want to remind you real quick that the next live show is going to be September 10th at 4 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. It's always going to be about the middle of the month. I'm going to try to do one in the middle of every month. On a Thursday. I guess that's what I was trying to say. So if you have any last questions, go ahead and ask them now. Otherwise, I'm going to answer these last few, and I'm going to wrap up the episode. The next one is, can you write a capital Q? Can you write a capital Q in cursive? I write mine like a 2. Yeah, let me try this real quick. I think this is the way you do it. It does kind of look like a 2. You guys will have to tell me if this is right or not. Is capital Q in cursive kind of like this? Does it look? I'm trying to orient this so that it's visible on the camera, at least as far as I can tell. It's kind of like that, right? Is that a capital Q? It kind of looks like I haven't written a capital Q since probably I was like 3rd or 4th grade. So I remember the teachers always had like a trim that went around the walls that had all the cursive letters around it, and I didn't really care. Like cursive. I didn't pay attention to that. So I guess that's it. Okay, can I battle you? In what way would you like to battle, sir? Because the answer is probably yes. What sort of way would you like to battle? If you want to come over here to Washington, D.C., we can go out to the park and duke it out if you want and get arrested. I don't know what kind of battle. Sorry, that's kind of weird. I don't know what kind of battle you want, but maybe. All right, so I guess I'm gonna wrap it up there. Oh, so that is the capital Q. Cool. I guess that's the way I do it. All right, so that's gonna do it for this episode. Again, want to thank everyone for watching. I really like doing these. As long as you guys like doing them, I will continue to do so. The turnout has been a little better each time, maybe 1 or 2 more people at the peak of every episode. It gets a little better. So if you guys like this sort of thing, I'm totally all for it. The next live show is going to be September 10th at 4 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, where I will answer your questions and comment on the things that you raised to my attention. And also, I will be eating Marmite on toast as requested, and you guys can get my reaction to that. It should be fun, I guess. I think I'm gonna like it. I like really bitter, salty tasting things, so I think it's gonna be pretty cool. So with that, I will go ahead and let you guys go. I will talk to you guys next time, September 10th at 4 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Go ahead and let me know what you guys think about this episode in the comments. Even after I end the episode, you guys can still leave your comments there. And always feel free to email me directly at victor.salinas@growelt.com. I'll go ahead and put my email address in the description of this video right after I end it, so you guys can see that. I'm always opening to talking to you guys. I get a lot of emails from viewers and subscribers on the website and all that sort of thing. And I like having conversations with you guys, and you can always approach me anytime with that. So with that, I will bid you all a good evening, and I'll see you guys on September 10th.